Hello and welcome to Sage and Stone Homestead. If you have not met me yet, my name is Heather. I get a lot of questions about what I do with our rabbit hides. So we raise rabbits for meat here on our homestead, but rabbits are worth way more than that, especially when you can utilize their hides. Now, I do not have a specific hide tanning video. I've shown how to tan hides in various vlogs, and eventually I will get a hide tanning video out, but I've tanned this hide myself with a bottle of hide tanning solution that I bought on Amazon. It's actually quite a simple process, and I've got something that I can use here. So as you can see, this hide is flattened out. A lot of times when we process our rabbits, we will pull the hide down from the back feet down to the front feet, and it comes off in a tube. When I tan it, I do flatten it out. And you can see that we've got like the inside out arms here. I'm not going to deal with this today. I'm just going to be focusing my attention on the rest of the hide. So what I make most often with my hides at this point in time are pom-poms for the hats that we sell on our website. And I have experimented with different sizes. I've made 2-inch pom-poms before, but I find that I prefer the look and the fullness of a 3-inch pom-pom. So I just have this 3-inch by 3-inch card. This is my template that I cut out, and I do have a scalpel. You want to try to not use something like scissors when you are cutting a hide, especially when you want the fur to stay intact, because if I were to take scissors to this, I'd be cutting hair as I cut the hide, and that's going to create an uneven pom-pom because some of the hairs are going to have rough cuts in them. So we're going to be placing our template on the back of the hide like this. I haven't found that it matters how this is oriented. If you're familiar with sewing, I can't remember what it's called, but the fabric itself can have a stretch to it. It can stretch one way, it can stretch 2 ways. I think there's such a thing as a 4-way stretch. There really isn't that kind of a thing with hide, but the one thing you may want to consider and think about is the direction of the hair. And for my purposes, for the pom-poms, it doesn't seem to matter. So I just place my template to get me the maximum number of pom-poms as possible. So I'm just going to start here at the edge so that I waste the least amount, and I'm just going to take my scalpel here and gently cut out, being careful that I don't cut so deep that I'm going to be cutting a lot of hairs. Some hairs will get cut, that's okay. Now, it's something where you want to go light at first, especially if you have a brand new scalpel or X-Acto knife, and then you can always go over your same cut if you need to go deeper, but slow and steady. Might be a little hard to see what's going on here, but I'm going to try my best to show you. So I've gotten through the hide. I'm trying my best not to really go through the hair. And I probably need a new scalpel. This one is getting dull. Yeah, let me replace this scalpel. I think it's done. Ooh, much better. I can feel the difference for sure. There we go. So I did cut some of the hairs. That'll be okay. You want to understand the ideal, but there is a wiggle room there. Ideal would be cutting no hairs at all. I like to brush the hide just to free up some of those hairs that got cut or are a little bit loose. This is what we end up with. This is what we're going to start with. And I'm going to get as many as I can out of this hide, and then I'll show you how I sew the pom-pom. Okay, so out of that hide, it looks like I was able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 squares, 3-inch squares, which is about right. I get in between 10 and 13 3-inch pom-poms per hide. This one I'm putting to the side because it has this giant bald spot in the middle. Obviously that's not a good thing, but I can use this refuse here in order to fill the pom-poms. I don't do that because I do sell the hats that have the pom-poms on them and I'm aiming for consistency. So I use poly fiber fill, but that is an option for this waste material here. So here comes the fun part. It's the sewing. Now what I'm going to do is sew this pom-pom right sides together. So in sewing terms, you have the wrong side of the fabric. In this case, we have a rabbit hide, and the right side of the fabric. In general, the right side is the side that's going to be facing out. And what I like to do is start with whatever side has the hair or fur naturally going downwards, so that my edge here is nice and free, and I will bend this over and fold it in half like so. I like to use these little clips when I'm sewing just to help keep things together. And I'm going to be using my sewing machine today. You can sew these by hand. The best advice that I have for you is to make sure that you're using a sharp needle, and one that is made for leather can be good, especially if you're working with a hide that's thicker. A rabbit hide, you can use pretty much any needle, but I would use one that's not necessarily a ballpoint. One that's sharper will be better. Also, I'm going to use just a regular polyester thread. I find that it's stronger than something like cotton. And we need it to be a little bit strong because we are going to manhandle these things a little bit to get them to look like pom-poms. For people who have been following the channel a little while, this is what I used to do before I did YouTube. I actually sewed cloth diapers, baby clothes, baby shoes for different companies, and they went ahead and resold them. That was a fun time. So we have our folded pom-pom, and I'm just going to sew this side shut. And I do like to go about 1/8 to maybe a little bit more in from the edge. This is called our seam allowance, because if I sew too close, when we turn this right side out, we could, you know, threaten to tear it. And I do have this at a somewhat long stitch length here for the same reason. I don't necessarily want to be punching a bunch of holes super close together, because that's going to kind of act like a perforation and allow this to tear. You may or may not be able to see what I did there, but on a machine, you're going to do a back stitch, which is going to lock the stitch in place, sew along, and then do another back stitch just to hold it nice. Now, I'm going to essentially do the same thing, but on a different side. So as you can see, we've got the hair sticking up here, and I don't really want to catch that when I am sewing. So I'm going to fold it down like this, just to keep the hair out of the way, and then fold this seam onto itself. Hopefully I'm making any kind of sense here. So we have our seam that we just did. We just sewed this top here. This part is going to now fold in on itself after we fold the hair down and get it out of the way. And now we're going to sew this in the same way. That's what we've got so far, and I'm going to do the same thing one more time. It doesn't really matter which side you fold in, but we're going to be doing a total of 3 sides, folded in and stitched. Tuck that fur in. Guess I'll do it this way so you can see it. And then fold. Sometimes it's helpful to get a utensil like a chopstick and tuck the hair down in. There you go. Now we're going to sew along here. Okay, now we have the 3 sides all tied together, and we have kind of a package looking situation here. One of these sides is open, and that's good. We're going to find that open end and push the rest of the pom-pom through that open end. And this is where if you have sewed too closely, you may hear some ripping, which would be bad. You'd want to go back and fix that. See? Still got some stray hairs flying. It's a job hazard, that's for sure. And now we get to fill it, and then I'll show you how I attach it to the hat. It does look a little square at this point in time. It won't once we fill it and get it tied on. Here's the fiber fill. You don't need very much. It's not a very big space. And there are filling tools. You could use a chopstick. I tend to just use my fingers. Okay, so our pom-pom is stuffed, and I still have this open tab here. I'm going to basically close this with the same yarn that's going to attach it to the hat. So it's a decent length of yarn here. I'm just going to put it through this larger needle. This is a darning needle. It does have somewhat of a blunt tip, but that's okay. I am actually going to poke this yarn through the hide right here, and I want to give myself at least a 1/4 inch, maybe a 1/3 inch from the edge, so that we don't have any problems with this ripping through. And I'm literally just gonna pop that straight through like that. See? And then the other side of that string, I'm gonna thread my darning needle and put this inside the pom-pom, kind of across the street from that hole that I just made through the pom-pom that is already sewn. So if you can think about the way that the pom-pom is constructed, this is being pierced through the flap that is directly across this open flap. I hope that makes sense, but I think once you get a pom-pom in your hands, you'll be able to feel what I'm talking about. I'm just going to pierce it straight through like that. And so now what we can do is attach this to our hat, and cinching this down is going to just bring that opening closed, and we have our pom-pom. Here is my hat. It's one that I knitted on my circular knitter. And first thing I'm going to do is take these two tails and put them inside the hat, because the pom-pom is going to be secured from the inside. So just put that down through the cinch like that. I've got both sides in the darning needle like so. I'm just going to be putting it down in through the cinch like this. Turn our hat inside out. And I have 4 strings here. 2 of them are from the hat and 2 of them are from the pom-pom. These are the pom-pom strings here. These are the hat strings. I like to divide them so that I've got 1 hat string on one side and 1 pom-pom string on one side. And I kind of pull decently tight to help keep everything nice and firm. And I went online and I bought these pom-pom connectors. You can use a button, but something to just be the bulk so that the pom-pom can't just pull off. You could probably just tie a knot right here, but this helps give it extra security. And it's easier to untie the pom-pom should you need to wash the hat or something. So what you do is actually thread both sides of the split yarn that you have here through the pom-pom connector like that, pulling relatively firm. So, and I like to tie a bow. You could do a double knot if you wish, but again, make sure that you can untie it should you need to wash the hat. I like to make these tails here a little bit neater looking. I don't know what I did with my scissors, so I've got this scalpel. That's what it looks like on the inside. And then here's our pom-pom from the outside. It's perfect. Now you can do a little bit of smushing and squidging and blow on it a little bit and fluff it up and make it look as nice and neat as you like, but that's it. That is how to make a rabbit fur pom-pom. I'm sure you could experiment with other types of furs, but that's how we do it here. And that's that. 1 down for me, 9 more to go. So I'm gonna get to work. I'll see you guys again soon.